9 Australian women. One shot at glory. The 100-meter hurdles final is about to go down, and this field is stacked from lane 1 to lane 9. Look at these faces. You don't get to a final without earning every step. Jenneke dancing it out in lane 4, loose and locked in. Emily Britton in lane 5, arms up, ready to fly. Abby Tadeo in lane 8, absolutely buzzing with energy. All 9 athletes now settling into the blocks. That aerial view tells you everything. Hurdles stretched out ahead, the crowd holding its breath, the tension so thick you can feel it through the screen. Who breaks clean? Who hits every barrier perfectly? Who wants this title more than anyone else on that track? You are not going anywhere. Kicking things off in lane 1, Nicole D'Onofrio of Australia. She's been clocking 13.7 this season and comes in with serious national level credentials, a composed competitor who knows exactly what it takes to make a hurdles final at this level. Lane 2, Tammin Lampret of Australia, a young talent already chasing world under 20 standards. In lane 3, Celeste Mucci of Australia, a sharp technical hurdler coming into real form. Lane 4, Jenneke of Australia, 3-time national champion and a stunning all-around athlete, adding long jump to her growing list of credentials. Emily Britton of Australia in lane 5, excellent heat performance, full of energy and confidence coming in. Lane 6, Danielle Shaw of Australia. The Victorian has been building well this season and is coached by the well-regarded Nicholas Cross. In lane 7, Jacinta Lampret of Australia, the older Lampret sister, a strong national level presence. Lane 8, Abby Tadeo of Australia, competing at national level while also working as a coach, an impressive double act. And in lane 9, Leah Richards of Australia. She battled back from a brutal hamstring injury suffered at the Paris Olympics and has worked her way back to this start line. Jenneke is the favorite for a 4th national title, but this field will push her hard. Locked in, blocks set, let's go. And they are off. Clean start. Jenneke flies to that first hurdle, clean and dominant. Britton pushes hard from lane 5, but Mucci clips a hurdle and goes down hard mid-race. Jenneke clear, Britton chasing with everything she has. Jenneke wins. 4-time national champion. 12.76. Britton second. Shaw takes third. 4 Australian titles for Jenneke. Arms wide. The crowd loving every second. And concern for Celeste Mucci, walking off the track after that heavy fall. Jenneke is beaming. 12.76. An outstanding run. This is what peak form looks like. 4 national titles. Jenneke raises her arms and the crowd roars back. Watch Jenneke off the gun. Low, aggressive, and already clear by the first barrier. That lead leg snaps down fast, minimizing time over the hurdle. The trail leg follows through clean. Through the middle, you can see Britton pressing, but Jenneke's barrier rhythm is just too smooth. Right here, Mucci gets fractionally close and clips it, going down hard at full speed. Jenneke never breaks stride. She drives through the final hurdles with total control and crosses in 12.76. A dominant champion's performance. Jenneke had this race controlled before most of the field found their rhythm. Watch the first 3 hurdles. She's already half a stride clear by hurdle 2, and that gap doesn't close. It widens. The decisive moment isn't at the line. It's somewhere around the 40-meter mark, where she snaps that lead leg down with a precision that none of the other 8 women in this final could match. That snap, that aggressive pull down of the lead leg, is what compresses her contact time between barriers. Less air time, more ground speed. By the time Britton and Shaw are trying to close, in the final 30 meters, they're chasing a margin that was already fixed. The 12.76 deserves some context. For Australian women's 100 hurdles, that's serious. Sally Pearson set the standard that defined this event domestically for over a decade, and the gap between Pearson's peak and where this event has sat since her retirement has been a genuine problem for Australian athletics. Jenneke at 12.76 isn't closing that gap entirely, but it's a signal that the event isn't stagnant. It's a 4/10 gap between first and third in this final, which tells you something useful. The depth isn't there yet, but the peak is rising. Technically, Jenneke's hurdle clearance is built around efficiency rather than power. She's not the tallest woman in this field, and she doesn't try to muscle over the barriers. The lead leg snap is clean, the trail leg comes through tight, and her transition back to sprint mechanics between hurdles is faster than it looks. What you notice on replay is how little her torso moves laterally. Her head stays still, her arms drive straight. That's discipline, and it's the kind of discipline that comes from years of work in the same technical patterns until they're automatic. 4 national titles. She's been doing this long enough that pressure doesn't change her mechanics. That's rarer than it sounds. Emily Britton's 13.00 is worth looking at on its own terms. She was the athlete with the most to gain from a race that went the way this one did. Mucci, who had been coming into serious form, gone by mid-race. The path to second was clearer than it might have been. Britton ran it in 13.00, which is competitive at national level, but not a number that suggests she's ready to push Jenneke consistently. Her start was solid, her middle section was fine, but in the final 20 meters, where elite hurdlers are managing fatigue and maintaining clearance height, her barriers got a little sloppy. Not catastrophically, but enough to cost time. Shaw's 13.09 in third is more or less what you'd expect from her at this stage of the season, a result that confirms she belongs in this final without suggesting she's on the verge of breaking through the tier above. Celeste Mucci's DNF is the part of this result that carries real consequence. She clipped a hurdle mid-race and went down hard. The broadcast showed her walking off the track, which is the kind of detail that matters when you're trying to read how serious it was. A DNF in a national final when you're in form is never just a bad day. She'd been putting together the kind of season that suggested she was genuinely capable of challenging at the front. If there's a soft tissue issue from that fall, the next few weeks will determine whether her summer continues or ends early. At her level, losing that competitive sharpness mid-season is difficult to recover from in the same calendar year. Leah Richards' return to this start line shouldn't be treated as background detail. She tore her hamstring off the bone in Paris in 2024. That's not a soft tissue strain, that's a structural injury that ends careers, and, when it doesn't end them, fundamentally changes what athletes can ask of themselves. Getting back to a national final at any time is something a lot of athletes at her level simply don't manage. Her result here isn't recorded in the final positions, but her presence in lane 9 is its own data point about what's still possible for her. What this win signals for Jenneke isn't complicated. She's the dominant domestic force in this event right now. 4 national titles, and the gap to second in this final was 1/4 of a second. That's not a photo finish, that's a controlled victory from an athlete who knew she had more in reserve. The question for what comes next is whether she can translate that into a semi-final at a major championship. She's been close before. The Paris injury in 2024, as a spectator of what that kind of fall does to someone mid-race, was a reminder of how quickly a championship campaign can collapse. Her own race here was clean, composed, and controlled. No drama, no contact, no wasted movement. The domestic record in Australia still belongs to Pearson. That number sits out there as the ceiling this event is measured against. Jenneke at 12.76 isn't there yet, but she's the best Australian hurdler in this event right now, and she ran a race today that showed why. Not flashy, just faster, technically cleaner, and mentally tighter than everyone else on the track. That's what 4 national titles looks like when they're earned the hard way.